Hey guys, I'm Beatrice, and it's my absolute pleasure to welcome you to my first episode of Bea In the Know, where I feature the infamous Daniel Daggers, aka Mr. Super Prime. So, Daniel, thank you for putting yourself in the hot seat.
Thanks for having me.
And my pun to start off with is, shall we begin? Daniel, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
And welcome to beautiful Surrey.
It is very beautiful. Look how sunny. Is it sunny like this every day?
Every day in Surrey is sunny. What's that saying?
Sounds like a book, doesn't it?
Isn't it? The
Every
rain
day
in
is sunny.
Spain stays mainly on the plane.
Falls mainly on the plane or something.
Oh,
yeah.
Same difference. But thank you for joining me
Pleasure.
as my first guest on the pod.
Oh, I'm the first.
You are the first.
Wow, Virgin Tour.
Yes.
Great.
You always remember your first, so thank you for coming.
Very good.
Indeed. So, without further ado, when you started DDRE,
Yeah.
was scaling the business the immediate plan, or has the growth exceeded your expectations?
No, it was the immediate plan. We need to scale the business. How we were going to do it, we weren't entirely sure. And then leveraging off past relationships, I felt that there was going to be people that I've worked with previously who've enjoyed working with me, and that was their growth would meet what we're building. And that's generally how we started. And then we meet wonderful people like you. And that's one of the interesting things about putting things into the atmosphere, creating content, putting it into the atmosphere. What you'll do, you get stuff back that you just least expect. So, yeah.
And with that in mind, one of the questions when I put on Instagram that I was having the privilege of having a conversation with you was firstly, how do you join DDRE? But how do you pick the talent? And I kind of look at you a bit like a talent manager to an extent now. Do you feel the same, or is that just something that's sort of grown?
Yeah, culturally it's right. When you're building a brokerage, which is essentially what we're doing, you're either looking for somebody who's got an insane amount of experience that can bring their network with them and their contact book, or you're looking to bring people in that have reach and level of expertise in communication. And then you have to stick them all together, and that's all about culture. So we see what people do online, we see how they interact in interviews, we see how they interact with someone else in the business, because we'll put them into a meeting together, and then we'll see whether or not it fits culturally. And if it does, then we'll put it together. How do you get a job at DDRE? You either reach out to us directly, or you create content and we see what you're doing.
But I think someone said to me, what's the best way to get in front of Daniel? And I said, don't be normal.
Okay.
Do something different. Don't just write an email. I would be knocking on the door if I had, I think I must have messaged you about 7 times on LinkedIn, which was the boring way. And I feel like nowadays, actually, to communicate better and to stand out, you can do more. And I think there was a gentleman that came to the office and he went out of his way to try and get in contact with you. And I just think those, especially for the younger generation who are trying to sort of prove themselves, I think sometimes thinking outside the box is no bad thing.
Thinking for the person that you want something from. So often when people want something, they think for themselves.
Yeah. But
actually, if you want something, the way you achieve it is by getting it from somebody. So you have to find out what they want from it first. It's why I don't like business. I don't want to go on a tangent, but like business development people, I think it's just like utterly the wrong way around. You don't go around going, hey, knock on your door, will you give us business? The attitude should be, hey, I'd like to give you some business because I see you as a valued partner in the future, and therefore hopefully you'll return the favor.
Yeah, what value can I add?
Okay, and that's how people who are looking to get in touch with me, they need to understand, they need to try to put themselves in my shoes and say, hey, what is that guy looking for, and can I give it to him? And if I can, then I'll get his engagement and his buy-in.
And I think what the interesting part about DDRE, even in sort of the 6 months that I've been there, is watching the other advisors grow their own individual teams. Yeah. And actually having that opportunity isn't massive. You don't have to come in and be an advisor off the back. You can actually support someone else, learn from them.
That's what if I was a junior member of staff, if someone I didn't have a lot of experience, I would look to be the right-hand man or right-hand woman to an agent who is successful and an advisor who's successful. That's what I would do.
So was it harder to build the brand from scratch, or are you finding maintaining the momentum more challenging?
No, I felt that we could build the brand, I should answer it a different way. I felt that we could build the brand with consistent content. And I had a strategy to achieve that, which is what we continue to do. How do we grow it? The ball's rolling now. So once the ball starts rolling, you'll find that things compound. So instead of me looking to hire people for DDRE, the talent, other people in our business are looking to hire people into their teams. And so it can exponentially grow.
And has there been a moment where you've realised DDRE has made it, or
No.
we're not quite there yet?
No.
You're forever chasing.
I don't think
No.
I don't think I've made it.
And is that constant competition sort of with yourself, or is it sort of people that you're consistently looking up to?
I'm in competition with me.
Because I think there was one thing that you said to me quite early on, because I'm super tough with myself.
Yeah.
Nothing will ever be good enough. Consistently compare myself to other people. And I think very early on, you just said to me, compare yourself to last month. And as long as you're doing better than last month, then next month is a better growth than this. Yeah. And I think when you're starting your own business, it's a good mindset, because otherwise before you know it, you're constantly going, oh my God, they've done a deal.
Yeah, the deal thing was interesting. When I was working in my previous business, the office that I worked in was a very powerful and influential office. And when other agencies did business and they did deals that I thought we could have done, I had a very calming attitude to that, which is you can't do every deal.
No.
Recognize that you can't do every deal, but you should never turn down an opportunity or not work hard enough to achieve one.
Fine.
And that's in my control.
Yeah.
And so anything that's in my control, I want to do to the best of my ability. Anything that's outside my control, I'm not particularly interested in. But I will notice what other people are doing, and I will see if it's successful. I won't have a knee-jerk or negative reaction to that. Yeah. I will try and embrace that and incorporate it into what I do to make me better.
But do you think that's a mindset that you've got to, based on respectfully the way that people have sometimes greeted what you've done and the journey that you've been on, which has at times been, I'm sure, quite a negative space. There's always been a lot of noise around what you and, as a result, what DDRE are doing. Even when I sort of said that I was joining DDRE, it was mixed with mixed emotions from people. Some quite, I think a lot of it comes from the envy side. But equally, I'm a firm believer when I used to speak to sort of the people who sort of were higher up at me in my corporate, which was there was an element of frustration from them that they couldn't do the same. Yeah.
I don't know how other people feel, but I think there has certainly been a lack of entrepreneurial spirit in our industry, and a lack of pride in people's personal achievements, not organizational achievements, but personal achievements. And I knew that what I was going to do was going to ruffle feathers, because people just don't like it when other people succeed often. But
and that tends to be a rather British thing in my opinion.
It's we got a cultural issue here that we are trying to break. Like every day that you work, you're trying to break, and that's a bit of a glass ceiling. But I want to be in a place where we are admired for what we do and our bravery, because I think that's very important in today's world. But I also recognize that because there are no heroes in our industry, and I am somewhat of a hero to some people, that's the feedback that I get, that comes with a downside, which is I'm probably the first real estate agent that has had significant amount of attention to derive quite a bit of envy. Yeah. And I think I'm probably the first real estate agent in the UK to have that and deal with that.
And how much do you think that grew off the back of doing Netflix? Because obviously that was at DDRE, we like big risk, big reward. We do. It's sort of built.
We like calculated risk.
Yeah.
We like calculated risk, and big risk is perceived in a, oh wow, like don't be reckless about things. Yeah. We want to do things that are calculated and equally risky. Okay, because there's downside to absolutely everything. But if the world is changing and we're not moving and we're not taking risk, then we're going to be, we're practically behind and in quicksand. So I have to lead as the CEO of the business and make sure that we're doing things that are uncomfortable, to make sure that we're ahead of the times. Yeah.
And you strike me as sort of someone that doesn't really sort of live life with regret. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, there were a couple of regrets as a kid. I regretted not asking a girl out when I was 24.
Are you still in contact? Do you still know her now?
No. Oh yeah, we know one another. But that was many years ago. My life was very different, but that put me in a position to learn my lesson about approaching people that I liked, romantically. So I had to change my ways. And there are a couple of regrets. Yeah. But nothing that's like really eats at me and has a go at me and makes me feel down about myself. No. I love myself.
And have you always been like that?
Yeah.
Because that's one of the big things that you give off to us every time we do a Monday morning meeting, is I do come away going, actually, I'm not where I want to be. I'm not even close to where I want to be. But actually, you
never will be.
No, and that's quite a nice feeling, which is you've got to keep progressing and teaching yourself to sort of self-reflect. And I think I'm quite good at that, but I'm also so immensely tough on myself. And do you swing between the two, which is the self-love and quite tough, or are you actually someone who goes, no, actually, I am pretty good and I do know what I'm talking about?
No, I love myself.
Absolutely. And have you even as a kid, even as a teenager, loved yourself?
I had a very interesting upbringing, right?
Yeah.
So as a kid, I got bullied like you cannot imagine, and I was a black sheep in two different communities. My sort of schooling community, which was a Jewish school where most of the kids were quite wealthy, and we didn't have very much money. And I lived in local authority housing, or we lived in local authority housing, and then I went to a local youth centre boys club where I was the only Jewish boy, and I had both my parents, and I was bullied for that. So I was the black sheep in both places. I had to learn how to love myself very quickly, and it was probably because there were so many reasons why other people didn't want me to love myself.
Yeah.
So I had to.
Yeah.
I had to choose to do that. Plus, my mum's very doting, and my dad is a great father. So like that was awesome. But
it's a good way to be. I mean, I was very, very privileged. My parents gave up a lot, and my grandparents and me to go to incredible schools. But I also, funnily enough, I then worked at a local department store where I met some of my closest friends that had a completely different upbringing to me, a completely different educational background. And actually learning the combination of the two for me has been paramount in being able to communicate with loads of different people.
Yeah.
And I think it's skills that actually not enough, you don't learn those things quick enough, do you? Or if you do, you don't.
Like the art of communication, how you choose to speak to yourself, the two of the biggest things that you could ever learn. And I've always had a lot of faith in myself because I had a lot of friction as a kid.
Yeah.
So I would have fights to prove that I was like, you can't take liberties with me.
Yeah.
And I would play football, and I would learn from every circumstance when it comes to sport. I think sport is a really valuable thing for anybody in life, especially young.
With the football career, was that something, respectfully, that
people would laugh
if
you said career? By the way, people would laugh if you said career. Career. Well, I thought it was career. It was like FIFA. I was like one of the highest ranking players in FIFA in my league. Right,
and then it was stopped because of skill. And you want to still play?
No,
now,
but you probably know. But you probably know what's happened recently with my back and whatever. Do you know about that? Did I tell you about what happened?
Well, you're an injured man, aren't you?
Yeah, I tweaked my back carrying my kid, and I went to an osteopath. Had an X-ray, and she said, "Oh no, I think the pain's coming from your lower back. Why don't you have another X-ray?" Took another X-ray. She examined it. Said to me, "Oh yeah, you've got your left hip is fused." So I said, "What are you
problems are the worst."
I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "Well, at some point you broke the left-hand side of your hip, and it just fused together, which is why you have no rotation in your hip and you can't be manipulated." So, and I remember this. I remember being 21 and being in absolute agony, not being able to walk, but popping painkillers on a Sunday and Saturday to go and play football.
Thinking, yeah, I'm going to get.
And I was playing football with a broken hip. And all my friends used to say, "Oh, stop moaning! You're all moaning and moaning around."
Back to now, go look at me
and
now.
Now I go back for. I literally said to my friends, I called a few of my friends up, and I said to them, "By the way, do you know that like I whooped you every week playing football
with a hip,
with a broken hip, right? Just so you know, can you imagine how good I could have been? Yeah. I was going to do a story on Instagram and say Dennis Bergkamp was very lucky playing at Arsenal because if it wasn't for my hip, I would have had that shirt.
Do you see yourself as a real estate agent, or do you see yourself as a celebrity?
I see myself as a legend.
A legend, a hero.
I see myself as an absolute legend and a lord. I see myself... I think that people have put too many boxes around what they do and how they see themselves.
Yeah.
Like, I don't see myself as an estate agent. I see myself as a great communicator, a lover, a partner, a friend. I think there's just so many attributes that people have in their life, and I don't want to pigeonhole myself. 5 years ago, would you have said I would have been a TV star? Maybe. 10 years ago, no way.
And did you enjoy that process?
Well, it was tough.
Tough.
I didn't enjoy it as much as I had hoped I would. But it was a great experience, and I've learned from it.
And is that something in the future you can see DRE doing again, or not?
I'm not going to say no to anything.
No.
Why? World's changing at a rapid pace. Media is everything. If you really want to explore a form of being excellent at what you do, you have to be prepared to do things that no one else is doing, and that's something that no one else was doing in the UK.
And on the
It's a no-brainer.
preview of the Netflix evening, had you seen any of the content before?
No, not really. I've seen snippets, but not really. It was a very brave move.
Huge.
Yeah.
But fortune favours the brave.
But I also think that I also think that I don't mean anything to anybody. Like, I'm also nothing. I think I'm amazing, but I'm also nothing. Like, nothing I say is that relevant, but it's relevant to the people that I say it to.
True.
Or who are interested in what I have to say. But I mean nothing. I think I'm incredible, but I mean nothing. And we all die at the end of the day. And that's it. And then when I'm gone, I'm gone. So why am I going to stress about doing certain things that may be a bit of a risk? As long as it doesn't impact people that I love and adore, and people that I care for, then it doesn't matter.
And with that, do you have any sort of, especially now that you're a father and you've got a lovely little boy, do you have this sort of notion in the back of your head about a legacy, or do you look at your son and sort of say, well, this is what I want? What key attributes do you look at and go, this is what I want to make sure that you take with you forward? Is that business related? Would you like to see him continue in your sort of footsteps, or is it just personality traits that you go, as long as he has those, I know I've done a good job?
I don't feel that I'm important enough to leave a legacy, but I want to try. So that's one thing.
Yeah.
And I don't want to leave a legacy just for my child. I want to leave a legacy for the industry that I choose to work in, and the people that I can impact because of social media channels. I can impact people all over the world. I'd like to do that in a positive way. And therefore, if I can leave a legacy, and my kids and my partner, if they're alive beyond me, which is probably very accurate.
Yeah.
Well, my partner will probably live longer than me, and my kids will definitely, well, God willing, live longer than me. So I hope that my legacy creates a positive life for them when I'm gone.
Yeah.
Okay. What do I want for my kid? And I was thinking about this in the car the other day. I don't have enough time to think to myself. So sometimes when I do, I sat in the car this morning, I really think about how I feel about stuff. And I was thinking about what I want for my kid, and then I benchmarked it. So I want my kid to shine really bright. I want him to feel powerful. I want him to feel loved. I want him to feel that he can tackle anything within the realms of reasonability. I want him to do the best that he could ever do. I want him to achieve greatness if that's what he wants to achieve and he's capable of doing it. And I want him to think wonderful things about himself, okay, and be kind and generous and strong and powerful and all those things. And then I thought to myself that every parent probably feels that way about their kid, right? They want the best for their kids. Yet those parents are also shooting down other people when those people, are feeling bright and shining and powerful and happy and kind. And so we want to teach our kids to be this human being, but we're not actually being the human being ourselves. And I thought that was, for me, I'm trying to comprehend that, because I think there's a societal shift or a change or more awareness or more openness that we go through.
I think it's an interesting point, because I often, sort of speak to my parents and forget that actually this is the first time they're doing this as well.
Yeah.
And I think it's very easy, to look back and, critique and criticize certain things. My parents have been phenomenal in different ways. My mum and dad are very different characters, and both bring exceptionally different attributes to the table,
and downsides.
Well, of course. So therefore you're having to sort of learn against two. And I often sometimes sort of sit there, and that's what I love when I first joined DDRE, is actually you're in an environment with people for the first time that I generally feel are just great people.
Yeah. Inspired by.
Hugely inspired by, and are in an environment where actually it doesn't feel, we're competitive by just nature of the people that we are, but we're not competitive necessarily between each other. We generally want for the other people to do well, and actually that is not an ethos or a work environment that I've actually found myself in previously, and it's something that I think the culture, which ultimately derives from yourself, is hugely important.
Yeah, and everyone actually in base camp.
Yeah. And they are the pinnacle, without them. Super
important for us to all grow our businesses. How are you in your 30s yet?
No, I've got a couple more months, thank you very much.
Okay.
But like I always say to people, I take back the COVID years. So
no,
really
but you might be just more aware. Yeah, but I started to see how my parents weren't superheroes in my mid-30s, early to mid-30s.
Yeah.
And that is, you have a stark reality that no one knows anything. No one knows anything. And we're all learning our way through the process, and we've never done it before. And I find that really quite interesting.
And you're an only child, is that's correct, isn't it?
Sort of.
Okay.
But my dad had a kid before he met my mum.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's always something that's an interesting dynamics, because my brother and sister and I are vastly different. The way we look at things is very different. We have a lot of similarities, but it's always an interesting conversation about the sort of dynamics between my father and my mother.
Are you middle child?
Yes.
Yeah, I could tell.
I really, but everyone says there's a middle child syndrome, and I don't really know.
No. Just so you know, and I hate doing what I just did, okay? Because it's profiling. And the funny thing is that usually the people that have that conversation with me, like, are you an only child? They have siblings.
Yeah.
I never get asked if I'm an only child
from an only child.
Never. So it's only a person with siblings that says that, which I find quite interesting.
Yeah.
But you can absolutely, like, our game is all about psychology and how people live their lives, and I could tell that you're a middle child.
Have to ask why.
It's because you're kind and charming and caring and thoughtful.
I'm
and
savage
considerate.
in the family. They'll always say that. When I always say that I'm the Kim of the family, aka the Kim Kardashian of the family. My sister can give it, large, but my poor brother, sometimes we really do.
Is he the youngest?
No, he's the oldest.
He's the oldest, so he's got put up with
the
two.
Yeah.
Oof, not easy.
Yeah, and apparently I'm not a wallflower, which is news to me. But so
that's why you're doing the podcast.
Yeah, get on board. Mm-hmm. Do you find it hard to switch off from business? Do you ever have any downtime?
Not since we had the kid. No way.
There's no chill.
It's unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable. I posted this morning on Instagram going, I can
breathe.
I'm thinking about this is one of the things. When I was single, and I was single for most of my life, I would come home after work with all my problems, and I'd have to sort of therapy myself through all the issues that I was coming home with. It was mainly about work, sometimes about girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, your friend, your mum's driving you mad, your dad's driving you mad, this didn't work, and whatever it is. And I would go through therapy in my head about stuff. And from 33 to 37, I learned a lot about myself. It was a great time for me. It was tough, but really good. And I spent a lot of time thinking about the future. And I love spending time thinking about the future. And my attitude is, today's already been set by yesterday and my actions last month and my actions 6 months ago. That's set today up. I'm coming here. I've got calls I need to make when I'm in the car. I've got meetings, so on and so on. But they're already set up, and I'm going to go and be myself during the course of today. I want to spend my time in the future so I can prepare myself for what's coming. And that is the thing that I miss most, actually, is spending my own time to think about things in the way that I want to think about them, and see where the future, try to see my vision of what the future looks like. And that's partially my job as the CEO, but also I get a lot of comfort in it. Yeah. Because a lot of people don't feel comfortable when they don't know something. And if you feel that you have a strong vision over what the future may look like, at least you can work towards it.
And I always live in the future, to the point where all my friends, family go, you never enjoy the present.
No, you do enjoy the present.
Can you reflect and go, yeah, I'm happy in that? You're not always forever looking to the next thing.
I loved every second this morning when I was changing my kid's nappy. I loved every second, and he smiled at me and a glint in his eye. And when I put him in his bouncy chair and he's smiling at me, and I'm thinking about playing hip hop music in the background so it looks like he's going to the beat, and he didn't feed well. And I'm in the moment. I'm there. I'm very present. There are times when I'm around people that I love where I'm not very present. Yeah. And it's because they give me the freedom just to zone out. So sometimes my other half, when I'm sat there having dinner with her, and we can be out in a really nice restaurant, or we can just be at home eating a sandwich, sometimes I just zone out, and she can see it, and she's like, in the beginning she'd be like, hey,
now she just lets
stay with me, and then she was like, I need to leave him for a bit, and then he'll come back to me in 10 seconds, 5 seconds, 15 seconds, and we got a good relationship like that. But it's tough. It's tough.
I think it's, for me, the hardest bit's sort of been trying to navigate starting your own business, and the world that maybe you used to know before, and by that I use that quite loosely, but sort of friendships, things you used to do on the weekend, like a lot of my friends go, oh, we never see you anymore. We don't hear from you very much. And I was always deemed in sort of my friendship and family as being like Amazon Prime. I reply so quickly.
Yeah.
None of this 3 to 5 working, business days. That's nonsense to me. And I'm still very much like that, but I'm a lot more of a prioritizing this at the moment because the shift between working and having your own business has been massive for me.
In a good way.
In a great way. I mean, don't get me wrong.
Where's the but?
I was going to say it's harder than I thought it was going to be, but actually that's not fair because actually I knew it was going to be tough. I'm naturally quite an impatient person. So therefore I look at it and go, why are these things not happening overnight? And that's been the hardest shift for me, is actually to get comfortable with being that this is going to take a while.
So this is
the future that you're building now.
Right.
Not that this needs to happen here and now. And that has been quite a hard shift. And I think people around me have seen me be quite...
I get that.
Savage with that process of trying to actually reflect on it myself and learn from myself whilst actually being in it at the same time.
So this is my perspective over it. Okay, an analogy. You're holding an elastic band, and as you're working and grafting and working and grafting and grafting and working and failing and you're pulling, and what you're doing is you're pulling back the elastic band. Okay, and you keep doing. Now during this process of pulling the elastic band back, actually your failures are tiny. They're small, and you go past it. A week later, you forget about them.
Sure.
You forget about the difficult conversation you had or whatever, and you're pulling the elastic band back. The person who is causing the most aggravation for you is you.
Yeah.
But what you're doing is you're pulling the elastic band back, and then gradually, when you get into a slipstream and you know what you're doing because you failed so much, the elastic band goes, and you fly forward.
Yeah.
But you don't think about it when you're flying forward. You only think about it when you're going backwards because you're trying to create energy, by failing, and then you fly forwards.
Yeah.
And when you fly forwards, you never think about it. You're just doing it. You're just running around. I've got this appointment, and that appointment, and this offer's coming, and that comes in, and then you have to sort of reset yourself and go, oh, this is I like this. This is fun. And then you have to say, well, how has this happened?
Yeah.
Not why. After this Simon Sinek interview, which was all about your why.
Yeah.
It's not about your why anymore. It's about how. Now it's about how. How are you going to achieve it?
And I think that's quite interesting because when I first started, obviously I was networking and trying to, always networking, but trying to sort of, rekindle relationships with people I maybe hadn't spoken to, et cetera, et cetera. And a lot of the people I asked at the beginning, especially entrepreneurs and business owners, was, how have you come to your success?
Yeah.
And I can't begin to tell you how many of them, probably 90% of them turned around and said luck. And at the beginning I'd sit there and
I don't believe that.
Well, no, I used to sit there and go, are you just saying that because you think you don't want to give me your information? Or actually, have we just created this culture like we mentioned earlier, which is actually people are either not prepared to reflect on, like you say, the how, if they got to that stage, or are we just so sort of...
No, I don't believe in luck. I was talking, I did this with my kid. I talked to my kid. Okay. I love it. And I said to my kid, and I filmed it, and I didn't post it, I filmed it. And I said, because I want to send it to him. And I said, never say you got lucky. Lucky is saying all the actions that I did, are not valuable. And I've thrown them up in the air and I got lucky. There's no accountability for any of your actions. And therefore there is no incentive for you to continue to escalate your actions. Because I got lucky.
Yeah.
No accountability. Like, I can't touch it. I can't feel it. I'm not prepared to do that. I'm going to be totally accountable to what I do. And if I achieve more success, I'm going to continue to do what I do. And I may tweak here and there. And if I get more lucky, it's because I have actioned my luck.
Yeah.
And whenever anyone says to me, oh, I got lucky, I just can't handle it. I just can't handle it. Like, okay, you won the lottery, fine. You bought one ticket and you won the lottery, yeah, you got lucky.
Yeah.
If you there's people out there that buy tens of thousands of tickets to win the lottery, right? They're trying to play the odds game, okay, which doesn't work. But they're not getting lucky when they buy 10,000 tickets. It might be a poor analogy, but
no, it's action based.
Like I'm in the office every day. I pound the street every single day. I create content. I'm speaking to hundreds of thousands of people a week. I created that opportunity for myself. And now I will shine and I will create more opportunity. There's no luck in a DM. You got lucky? No. My career is not about luck. I work harder. I work faster. I tweak my nuances. I understand them. I'm present. And I love people. I'm definitely not throwing it into luck. And anyone who says lucky to you is not, it's not really being, they're not stepping into their power.
No.
You're not going to get lucky. You're going to be successful by working really hard and being unbelievably accountable with your actions.
And consistent.
Yeah, all the time.
So how have you managed the process from obviously being a huge biller at your old corporate and playing that kind of role to now obviously stepping into sort of, well, very much business owner, CEO, mentor? Do you miss just going, do you know what, guys, I'm doing my deals today. I'm out doing that. I don't want to deal with you lot. I want to go and do that. Or is that part of the journey you've been on?
Sacrifice.
Yeah. Sacrifice for us all.
That's called sacrifice. It is sacrifice. Like, I get off on speaking to people and engaging with them. Like, that's where I get my energy from. It's where I give my energy. It's where I get my energy. And I haven't been able to do that for a few years. So I'll do a handful of pieces of business for people that want to appoint me to do stuff that I really want to work with. And then the rest of it is building a business that enables more people to be successful because I want to have a meaningful impact. I could have retired 2 years ago if I just set up Daniel Daggers Real Estate and it was just myself and Sarah and maybe one other person. Yeah. I could have retired 2 years ago.
And now you've got all of us floating around.
And now I've got amazing people that I genuinely adore, that I think could be great. And often people find reasons why they should do things in a different way.
But you like the fact that we do challenge you at times, though, no?
Yeah. Well, I like being proven wrong as much as I like being proven right. Because if you could prove that I'm wrong, it means that I need to tweak the way I think to be more successful. So that's okay. I don't mind that. But there are fundamentals in our business that will create a very good grounding for you to grow your business from.
Yeah.
And I want to build a greater business than just for me.
And is there a cap on the amount of people that you see being involved in that business? You don't have any?
No, we're going to continue building at ferocious pace, being really creative and very excited by the future. And if it takes us to 100 people, it takes us to 10,000 people, so be it.
And how much?
It's like saying, hey, you want to make £1 million in commission last year, yeah? Or next year? Okay, well, why not 1.2 million? I had someone join the business who said, I want to make £500,000 in fees. And I said, okay, in a year. And I said, okay, why $500,000? Why not $1 million? Why would you put a cap on yourself? Now, people often want to have a target.
Yeah.
Yeah, they want to have a goal. I don't really believe in goals. I think that societal norms now, if you look at a lot of people, when they have a goal and they don't achieve that goal, the down is so great that they'll never try and strive hard again because the down is so hard on them.
Yeah.
Because they've gone, oh, this is my goal. This is what I really want to achieve. When I get there, it's going to be blue skies and rainbows and unicorns, and it's going to be the greatest thing that ever happens to me. I don't believe in that. I believe in there being a North Star. I believe in there being a vision and working towards that vision and continuing to get better. And what you get is what you get. And that's what I believe. I think goals are dangerous. Some people need it because they need to sprint to that goal.
Yeah.
And if they get it, great. But if they don't get it,
yeah,
it's not good.
So I think we're probably about a year in from having a sort of more diversified team. By that, I mean location-wise with various different advisors, obviously covering different, well, more than just sort of the London patch.
Yeah.
At what stage did you kind of go, right, we need to expand the business? Was there sort of a light bulb moment, or was it just the more demand from you?
Just talent-led, people-led. Mm-hmm. Our future is going to be determined on people who can create really good bonds with people, whether that be in person or digitally. Yeah. And therefore, if we see the right talent and culturally the right fit, then we will grow into the regions that they know well. Yeah. That's it. And obviously, like, we don't have to stick an office in Surrey to go, hey, we have influence in Surrey anymore.
100%.
Like, this, put it into perspective. My other half is from Israel. I wasn't in Israel when I met her. Like, I was in London when I met her. And selling real estate, you don't have to be in a particular neighborhood to sell real estate because most people are traveling. They're traveling across neighborhoods, they're traveling across countries. I've bought and sold some of the most expensive real estate all over the world because of the relationships I have with people. And therefore, it's not the physical real estate that is really valuable. It's the people. And we're in a people business.
Yeah.
And people don't get it. We've always been in a people business.
And that's a big element of what, you know, between myself and we'll refer to it as the country house team for ease of sort of, you know, explanation here, which is, you know, we are going up against naturally the corporates that have had that brand and they've worked with, you know, generations of families for years and years on end. And I had a fantastic conversation with a prospective client the other day, which is, you know, follow the talent or the advice of the person you like.
Yep.
Irrelevant of the logo.
This is we don't need to champion this because people know this now. Okay, this happened in banking, happens with lawyers, anyone in the service provider role. Okay, that talent clients stick with.
Yeah,
that's it. And if you're client centric and people like you because you don't talk to them just about the real estate, but you talk to them about your life and you talk to them about their life and you remember the name of their kids and the name of their dog and when their birthday is and why they moved in the first place and you bump into them in the coffee shop, you know, every Sunday before they go on their run and all that sort of stuff, well, that creates personal bonds. And as our world changes and more of the information is disseminated across the planet, it's not the information that becomes particularly valuable, it's the relationships. That's what we're building towards.
And where do you see DDRE in 10, 15 years from now?
I have no idea.
Where's the hope for DDRE in 10 years' time?
For us to be successful, our people need to be successful. So my hope is that I'm helping people be successful. And the more I can help people be successful, the more successful our business will be. So it's ground up rather than top down.
And a huge amount achieved in just 5 years. So
is it?
I'd say yeah.
Is it?
You could have done more. Of course you could have done, but I mean, you know.
Okay, so everyone says that, right? Everyone goes, "Wow, you look what you've achieved in 5 years! Wow, this is amazing!" And I look at it and I go, "Is it? Well, no one else has done it, but it doesn't mean that it couldn't have been done better." Have we made mistakes on that journey? Yes. Could we have moved faster? Could we have made decisions faster and be more efficient? Yeah, of course we could have. So could we have 100 people now and done X? We just passed the £1 billion in transaction value mark. Could we have done £2 billion by now? Could we have built the technology out faster? Could we have moved premises faster? And so there's loads of things from the outsider. It's like when someone looks at you, okay, and you're walking down the street and you're at DDRE and people go, "She's got a head screwed on. She's smart. She's engaging. She's successful. She's winning at life." You're busy going, "I forgot about doing this. I forgot about doing that. I could have done this better.
I haven't done 100 deals in 6 months.
I haven't done 100 deals in 6 months. And actually, Daniel's just done this massive deal, blah, blah, blah." Like, everyone's playing that game. But if people want to say, "Wow, what an amazing achievement in 5 years," then I'm going to say, "Thank you so much. I appreciate it."
But that's the sort of mentality that goes, "Yeah, thank you. This is how far we've come, but look how far we're going to go."
Yeah.
And that's the important part.
And then people will say to you, often I got this when I was a kid growing up, it was like, "You're never content."
Yeah, I'm like, that's terrible.
Yeah, you're never content. So, and I agreed with them. It was like, I was never content. When we were playing football and we were winning 4-0, I wanted 5 and 6. When I was dating, I dated lots of different women. I didn't have long-term relationships. And it's because I didn't feel fulfilled in that relationship and I wanted to meet someone else. When, you know, just everything I wanted to continue to improve or do better or live more life, if that makes any sense. But there are places in your life where you do find contentment. So, for instance, we love our home. We would stay in our home for the rest of our lives if we could. But if we have more kids, we're not going to be able to. I'm super content with my home. I'm super content with the amount of friends I've got. I'm super content that I go to the Arsenal every weekend and that's my little breakaway from life, and I lose myself and I become a lunatic in the stands screaming, shouting. Well, not a lunatic, but like, you know, I love it. Like, I'm content with all of that in my life. And so there are elements of contentment. But do I want to shine more?
Yeah.
Do I want to do more? Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And I think it's good. I think that's healthy. Got one life.
We'll keep going.
Hard. Go hard.
We'll go home on that
note.
note.
Go hard or go home. Is that it?
Well, yeah, I think
Romeo
so.
Done? Can I ask you a couple of questions?
I'd love you to ask me a couple of questions.
Okay, what do you want to get out of your podcast?
For me, it was always about, I have a fixation actually with people that challenge the norm and want to, and I love the fact that you say define, not redefine an industry. So for me, it was a no-brainer that the first person had to be yourself, because for you, you've made me reconsider the way that I do things and the way that I can, want to look forward to the future. But for me, it's about sitting down with influential people that have conversations that perhaps other people feel like they can't have with someone. So they can ask people questions that maybe, they wouldn't normally share, or get the insights, and sit down with, with great people and have just a little chinwag,
And do you think it's more difficult for you as a woman in this industry?
I've never been a feminist. I'm a very much based on the equality.
You're a traditionalist.
Yeah, I am. And I think there's certain roles that women play that we can play up to that are beneficial for us. And I also think that there's roles that men have in the same instance as well. I think where I found it slightly more challenging is even when I was at a corporate, I had to go above and beyond to prove myself. So whether or not, I remember doing a pitch once and both my bosses were out of the office, we got a call and it said, we've got a pitch for a £4.5 million house. Can you come and see it today? Well, I'm sat in the office. I'm not going to wait around. Of course I can. What did I do? Prepare in an inch of my life. Because I thought I'm not going to allow them to have any excuse to think that I'm not capable of doing this job. Did win the business, got taken off me because it wasn't in my price point. Totally fine, whatever. But yeah, sometimes I think we have to earn as a woman our seat at the table a little bit harder.
You think it's harder, yeah?
I think it is. But rather than getting too sort of bent out of shape about that, I just look at it and go, well, let's work harder and let's prove ourselves more. And no, it may not be right, but actually if we keep fighting in that direction at some stage, things will start to turn. It is important for us as women to make sure that we are all on that journey together.
Do you think women support each other well in our industry?
I think we do. And I think that's one thing that DDRE does incredibly well. And that's absolute credit to yourself, is that you are a complete advocate of the women in the workplace, in the business. No reason you wouldn't be. I think it's certainly better than what it was. And I've certainly seen a shift in the last 2 or 3 years. But it was, one of the reasons when I was at my corporate that I would get frustrated, which was, well, hold on a second, I'm no different to anyone else here. I'm having to work actually quite a bit hard, and I probably do work harder.
How do you think women are perceived at work?
Like everything, it's dependent on who they are.
Just in general.
In general, I think sometimes there'll be certain instances, and I think it was the conversation that we had really, really early on before I joined, and we were going through my Instagram, and you made me sort of collate. So I think it was about 10 words that I wanted to be representative, or people would look at my Instagram and they would think and feel. And actually, it was a really insightful conversation, because actually I had never really looked at my Instagram and gone, "Ooh, is that a fair reflection of the person that I am or want to be portrayed as?" So I think there are certain things that we do. So I'm mindful of what I wear in certain environments. Some people would say you shouldn't have to be, but it's a choice that I have made because I want to be taken seriously, and I don't want anyone to give me an opportunity, even if it's a rubbish excuse, to not be taken seriously.
What do you think women can do better at to be more successful in the working environment?
That's a good question. I think they've got to believe in themselves more. There's too many excuses. And I sometimes think that's probably one of the reasons why sometimes I get frustrated when people have those kind of conversations, which, we're not treated the same, whatever else. Are we, or is that just an excuse? And that's a bit savage, I know, but I look at it and go, I'm not going to allow someone to give that to me as an excuse. If I have to work harder to prove my place, then I will. It doesn't mean it's right, but I'm not going to allow that to be a reason why I don't succeed. And I think actually that's one thing at DDRE, as women, as a collective group, everyone is like, yeah, we're going to do this, and we're going to do this together, and we're going to support each other. And, some of the colleagues that I get the actual privilege, and I genuinely mean privilege, to work with, have already taught me that actually there's no door that needs to be shut here. In fact, if anything, we're going to keep opening more of those doors.
Sure.
And I think that's really important. Once in a blue moon, I will get a message on LinkedIn or on Instagram from someone who's considering starting a career in real estate. And it gives me a huge amount of joy to be able to talk to them about the journey. And I think I sometimes feel a bit shocked. I'm like, why are you coming to me? I'm just starting my journey. But we very quickly forget, don't we, actually, the whole where we've sort of been previously. So yeah, I think it's about other women, but I also think it's about men championing women as well. And that goes both ways. So
I have a bit of a gripe.
You have a gripe with me or in general?
No, not with you. Don't panic.
Oh, right. I wasn't panicking.
Not with you. Just in general. So I want to ask you, and I'm trying to think of a way of having this conversation with you that is enlightening. Let's say we're walking down the street, you and I. Okay, and you bumped into someone who could be a potential client.
Okay.
Okay. So it's we're in a room with people, and you were going to introduce me. How would you introduce me?
Daniel Daggers. And I'd have to probably say AKA Mr. Superprime, but because it would feel right. But I would introduce you in no different to anyone else.
And you would say, oh, he's the CEO of DDRE, maybe.
Yeah.
You would say, like, you would give a little bit of
insight,
little bit of flavour
yeah.
and insight. Okay. Would you ever say, look how handsome and sexy, or how handsome and debonair he is? Would you say that?
No.
You wouldn't, would you?
No, you wouldn't.
Because that'd be weird.
Yeah.
That'd be weird. Okay. It's like me saying, oh, look how pretty she is. That'd be weird, wouldn't it?
Correct.
Okay. So, like, you show respect with the words that you choose to describe people and what you say. So I've got this thing about social media that I find really interesting that I would love your opinion on. When we're all building our brands online, which we know how vitally important it is, women have been perceived as like beautiful creatures, right? That was just one of the things that they would put women on a pedestal and say, look how pretty she is, and that's her value, which is utterly wrong, right? But when women post pictures of themselves on social media channels, what do other women say in the comments?
Well, it tends to be, respectfully, certainly on my page, it's more women that are bigging up other women.
What do they say?
Well, they're the ones that will probably talk more about what you look like.
Okay, what would they say?
Oh, you look lovely, or you like the nice dress, you look fabulous, that kind of nonsense.
Well, like, you look so hot,
Yeah.
you're on fire,
Flame
wow,
emojis,
flaming
which we all do.
emojis, like
Yeah.
amazing, right? So they'll be talking about your appearance.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you ever see me going on to one of the guys in our businesses' social media accounts and go, you look so handsome? Would you see me do that?
No.
No. Would you see me say, you look really sexy right now? And flames. Would you ever see me do that?
Absolutely not, no.
Okay, so I just want to get this right.
Interesting.
So women start talking about other women's appearance and saying they look hot and sexy. Men don't do that with men in the public domain. Definitely not, right?
No.
I might say to Serge if he comes in and he's had his shave and whatever, or Fran, I'll be like, hey, I like the outfit. You look sick. Yeah, I might say that. I wouldn't necessarily put it in the public domain, right? Because I don't value that person that way.
Yeah.
And I find it remarkable. Like
Very interesting.
I find it
insight.
remarkable. Like, if it was me, I'd be thinking, as a woman, I don't want people to just value me for my looks.
Yeah.
We've been suffering that, or women have been suffering that problem for hundreds of years. I want them to say, I'm so happy with your success.
Yeah.
You're so interesting, like, in relation to your mind and your actions and your attributes.
Yeah, it's
and all
down
these
to
sorts.
women to retake accountability of the narrative.
And I think they need to self-correct.
Yeah.
In some instances, I think that this
I
is,
think it's a really insightful way to look at it.
and I get angry about it because I think it lets, and it's weird because I shouldn't be talking about women that way. I don't know if I should be, if I'm going to get cancelled for this or not.
No, but even from my perspective as a woman, I look at that and go, that's a really insightful thing to note, because I mean, Louisa, would you have ever thought about it like that? I mean, it's interesting to know. I don't. How often do we write on that? I mean, I think even like the other day, I think one of our other colleagues put up a fantastic video of them doing an agent intro. Very infrequently to go, congratulations on winning that property, you've smashed it. It will be, God, you look fit, nice outfit. And every time Rasa puts up a photo, I go, cool, great outfit, Rasa, or you look beautiful, or whatever. We don't often go, great listing.
But women have been fighting for hundreds of years not to be seen as beautiful, but to actually look at our soul and look at our brains and look at what we're capable of. Well, let's go and display that in the right attitude when we're communicating that in public channels.
No, it's definitely, yeah,
Food for thought.
indeed.
Okay. I'm just trying to think if I've got a final question for you. What does success look like to you?
I feel like it's a bizarre one for me to answer, being only 29 in inverted commas, but success has genuinely changed for me in the last X amount of years. So I used to look at that and go, cars.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, at some point I'm not massively materialistic. It really wouldn't bother me if I never owned designer clothes, shoes, bags. I do love my cars. So that one we'll put a little sort of caveat in for.
Just like Fran.
Yeah, especially the car outside the front. We liked that one.
Go on.
But now I do look at it and it's finding that happiness. That's something that I have genuinely struggled with. I've never been content. I'm always someone who's like...
Are you not happy then? Because you're not content means you're not happy.
I'm far better now. I went through, nothing irritates me more, and I drive my friends and family mad about this, as people that are unfulfilled.
Okay.
And it was a bit of a, how could I possibly reprimand other people that were not fulfilled when actually at the time I wasn't fulfilled myself? And I think when we first spoke, the one thing I think I said to you was I feel that I'm not fulfilling my potential. And I still feel like I've got a long, long way to go. So for me at the moment, success and happiness is directly correlated with how fulfilled I feel as an individual.
Okay.
And whilst this journey is tough and who knows where it's going to go, I feel more fulfilled in the process
Okay.
than what I did before. So I look at that and go, yes, happiness, health, money, you need all those things. Of course you do. But it comes down to me as I wake up every morning and go, I'm fulfilled in the life that I have created for myself.
How do you know what happiness is?
Well, I think, do you know what happiness is? You've got to have been unhappy at some point.
Okay.
And if I can pick up times when I've been unhappy.
And the thing is that no one wants to be unhappy.
No, but you've got to be unhappy to be happy.
Everyone thinks, of course you do. And I'll give you an example on it, right? Everyone is striving for this happiness. It's like you meet this destination and you stay there.
Yeah.
No, that's not how it works. Happiness isn't a consistent thing. Happiness is moments. You have moments of happiness.
Yeah.
I'm happy sat here with you, chatting with you. It's a giggle, it's fun. Fran sat there thinking about it. This young lady's new and it's nice. And I love doing this and parting with some knowledge, maybe wisdom. It's great. I'm going to get in the car and I'm going to have a difficult conversation with somebody. Am I going to be happy having that conversation? No, I'm not. Oh, okay. So you mean that during the day you have moments of happiness and sadness? Okay. Or disappointment, which is a form of sadness. Okay. That means that for you to know what happiness is, you have to achieve levels of sadness.
Of course.
Okay. And it's like saying, if I fed you chocolate every day, would you know that it was sweet?
No.
No, because you have to have the yin and yang. If you don't have the yang, you don't know what the yin is.
Yeah.
And so everyone is striving to find yin because they're petrified of the yang. Life doesn't work that way. The people that meet the most yang will also meet the most yin.
Yeah.
That's just how it works. And you just can't stop. So this idea of happiness that has somehow proliferated or got into our world, I don't even know how to say it, sort of consumed our world, where everyone is searching for happiness, doesn't work that way. That's just, life does not work that way. And you have to be unhappy sometimes and you have to be happy in other times. And it doesn't matter how much money you've got or how many cars you've got or how many kids you've got or how many days of sun you've got. Like, that's not how it works. And it's about your perspective. So that's how I think about happiness. Like, I would say that I probably go through the past 5 years has been more unhappy moments than happy moments. But the people who achieve great levels of success have dealt with more bullshit than most people.
Yeah.
And so bullshit is when you have a problem and it's hard to solve.
Yeah.
In some instances, you can't solve it. But if you deal with lots of those problems, then you can see the problem very quickly and find solutions faster than other people. You then get happier.
But I think that's also a generational thing. I mean, I often sort of have conversations with my sister, who's a good couple of years younger, and, you know, she's immensely resilient and she's fantastic for all that generation that we've stereotyped as being a bit of a, I think they call it the snowflake generation, which I think is really offensive, but I think it's savage. But I look at it and go, actually, we're not teaching people to be resilient. We're just teaching people that everything's handed to you on a plate and it's super easy.
No, you can't do that.
And you don't, you know, it's even a bit like with the Instagram sort of world. You know, very infrequently do we see the bad days. We only really see the highlight reel of life.
Yeah,
and
that's your job. That's your responsibility. You can't rock up. You can't. So if you think about it, you can't just rock up full hair and makeup done and just present constantly, and everyone thinks that that's what you look like all day long. Because when you go down the road for a cup of Rosie Lee, for a cup of tea in the local cafe for whatever reason, or you go down the road and you haven't got your makeup on, everyone goes, oh wow, what's happened here, kind of thing. They're not doing that with you, but like, that's not real. And people are going to crave authenticity, right? Yeah. Crave authenticity. It's why I can do funny stuff on social media channels. Everyone goes, yeah, but this guy does massive deals. Yeah, but I'm also a normal person. Yeah.
So a human behind it all,
But
that's what people resonate towards anyway. So
vitally important, but people aren't brave enough. Most people aren't brave enough to do that. Most people aren't brave enough to be themselves. They've been taught not to be themselves. They've been taught to hide behind the suit. Can't do that anymore. So that's all changed. There was something else that I wanted to talk to you about, but I can't remember what it is now. I think you'll be amazing at this. Not that you need to know. I think you'll be amazing at this. But you need to ask really difficult questions, have great banter, because you've got it.
Thank you. I didn't want to be too savage, just in case you.
No, you could be savage.
Just
100%.
in case you kicked me out of
What's the
DDRE.
worst thing that can happen? Is I'm going to say to you, I'm not going to answer that question. I'm sorry. And then after off camera, I'm going to be like, wow, you're cheeky, and then that would be it. Like that's how it works.
When I've warmed up enough, I'll have to do another one with you. So it'll have to be
okay. But I'll do another.
Continued.
I'll do another one with you, but after your 100th episode.
My 100th.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
Consistency. It's all about consistency. Is it? No, don't negotiate.
No, because the problem is what I like to do with Daniel is if he sets an expectation, I'll say, we'll do it for 110 instead.
Don't negotiate. Go for it. Absolutely. What I'm trying to do is incentivize you to work consistently. That's where super success comes from.
But no, thank you.
Okay, you're
Coming
great.
to
You're brilliant.
beautiful Wentworth Estate in Surrey.
It's wonderful. Brought my passport and everything.
Did you? Nosebleed once you get past Richmond. It's
No,
like the panic.
I'm kidding. It was nice. It was a good
Good to
drive.
know.
All right,
Thank you very much. I've got the worst cramp right now.
Have you?
Yeah,
Where?
so bad. In
Where?
my calf. You don't want that.
How do you not get rid of it?
You have to
I
go up
can't
and
sit
walk.
there. I can't.
You have to
no,
go up
I
and
can't
walk.
sit. I can't sit there with
yeah,
Are you
it's
serious? Okay, we done.
We are done. Thank you very much.
Pleasure. Did you enjoy that?